So very warm welcome. My name is David Little. I'm the CEO of the TCM Group, and today we're going to be talking about a very important topic for a great many organisations, and that's how their managers and leaders deal with difficult situations in the workplace and drive performance, build strong teams and communicate effectively. But unfortunately, we're talking about a topic that perhaps has gone a little bit out of fashion recently, and of course that's soft skills. So today's webinar is focusing on how we can drag soft skills into the 21st century. You should have in front of you a dashboard. If you've got any questions at all that you'd like to ask me, please feel free to do so. You can do that through the question facility. I'll try and answer any questions as they come in, and also there'll be a space at the end of the webinar to answer any questions again that come in during the course of the webinar. You will receive a little survey form at the end of the webinar. Again, if you have any questions, I'll happily respond to those offline as well as through the session. The webinar is being recorded, so it'll be available for you through our website. So please do feel free to pass it to any friends or colleagues who you think might be interested in finding out more about this. Okay, so this is me, David Little. I'm a mediator of some 20 years. My background in the early 90s was in community relations. My first degree was in race relations, and in the early 90s I was working in Leicester as a tenant engagement officer in regeneration programs. I saw the impact of violence and conflict within communities and the damage effect it had, so I set up a non-violence program which ran for 8 or 9 years in Leicester, promoting dialogue, consensus building and mediation within the community. I was fortunate enough to have a BBC documentary made about my work in the late 1990s, having done a lot of work in schools and prisons to promote mediation and to promote dialogue. Okay, so I'm not sure if my webcam is showing at the moment. Just saying that it is. So I'll click that off. Okay, so I set up and now run the TCM Group. I set the business up in 1997 as a number of organisations were approaching me, asking me how the skills of the mediator could be used in their organisations to resolve often difficult and challenging situations in the workplace. And over the last 14 years, I've been working with some major organisations, including Royal Mail Group, Lloyds Bank, energy providers, large local authorities, hospitals and Whitehall departments to promote mediation and dialogue. But I've seen firsthand the damaging effect that conflict can have, not just on the individuals involved, but also on leaders, managers and the HR professionals who are often tasked with trying to resolve these situations. And the root cause of a great many conflicts and disputes that I've experienced in the workplace is a direct result of either leaders avoiding dealing with the situation or not feeling that they have the competence, the courage or the confidence to deal with difficult situations in the workplace. So about 18 months ago, I started talking to organisations about how we could bring soft skills into their organisations to help enhance their leadership role and drive the kind of management practices that would build strong teams, where managers could communicate effectively, negotiate outcomes to difficult situations, and manage their talent and manage their people in a way that people expect it to be managed. In essence, moving away from a process-led approach to management to a people-oriented approach to management. And I've been fortunate enough to work with over 300 organisations to embed the principles of collaboration and dialogue, soft skills, leadership, management, progressive practices over a number of organisations. So a little bit about the organisation, the TCM Group. We're a management and training consultancy with a difference. We're passionate about dialogue, about collaboration and people. As I've mentioned, we've been in business now for 14 years and have set up over 300 integrated resolution schemes in organisations across the UK and overseas. We employ a full-time team of mediators and trainers, and we've trained many hundreds of managers and leaders across the UK. And we've set up award-winning soft skills and resolution programmes in organisations such as Arcadia Group, obviously the group who own Topshop, Topman and so on, Lloyds Banking Group, Marks and Spencer's, Royal Mail, who you may be aware won a big CIPD award for the work we did with them last year, and many, many others. I'm getting a number of messages here saying that there's a little bit of difficulty with the noise. I hope that you can hear me okay. So sorry, Marlene and Steve. I hope that you can hear me now okay. Ian, if you could just indicate through the dialogue that you can hear me okay, that'd be really helpful. So sorry about that. I'm running this from my laptop at home, so a few microphone issues, obviously. So what's the problem with soft skills at the moment? When I talk to leaders and managers, this is what they tell me they think about the word soft skills. I'm sure you'll have your own perceptions here. People tell me, oh, thank you. Thank you for all of those messages telling me that you can hear me loud and clear. That is very much appreciated, Helen, Sarah, Ian, Marlene and others. Thank you so much. Great, so I can carry on with confidence now. Confidence, competence and courage to have a conversation with you now about soft skills. So what do people tell us about soft skills? Well, firstly, they feel it's a bit touchy-feely, a bit pink and fluffy. It's all a little bit soft. Many organisations, particularly over the last 30 or 40 years, in my experience, have addressed people management issues by focusing on policy and process. If I could put it this way, I think we've lost sight of the importance of human beings in our organisations, of real people, real issues, real feelings, real needs, real interests. And we've become reliant on policy, process, system, procedure. And we hope that if we go through these policies, processes, systems and procedures, it will spit out at the end of it a happy person and a strong outcome. And my experience of our policies, processes, systems and procedures is that they are woefully inadequate at addressing real human beings' needs, real people's needs. And the only true way of doing that is by sitting, by talking, by listening, by engaging, by challenging, by having an open and frank dialogue with one another. And for me, an absence of that in our organisations is holding our organisations back and damaging the very fabric of our organisations because of these perceptions. People tell me that these soft skills, we don't invest in soft skills, David, because we don't know the impact it's going to have. What kind of objectives is it trying to meet? How do we measure a manager or a leader sitting down and having a conversation with someone on a Tuesday morning? That's not easy to measure, and we have to have hard measurables in order to be able to get resources from our board. I understand that. Of course, boards and FDs and CFOs and others are going to be concerned about return on investment measures and business benefit. However, we need to get much smarter and much more effective at measuring the real impact, the real benefit of dialogue, of effective management and leadership within our organisations. Because the perception that soft skills aren't relevant to the modern business, that they don't hold a key part in the modern business, for me is a complete error for businesses to take. These aren't soft skills, these are hard skills, these are tough skills, these are key vital skills that every manager and leader needs in order to be able to secure better outcomes, better resolutions and develop the kind of teams that we need in our businesses to promote innovation and to drive growth, economic growth at a time where we desperately need that. So the end result of these perceptions that I've set out is managers, they're confused. For those of you who've embedded the Ulrich model of HR in your organisations, for those of you who haven't, forgive the jargon, but Dave Ulrich's model of HR, where we saw a move away from personnel to human resources and then human resources to HR business partners, and the role of HR was to add value to the business, and they required, through that model, managers, in essence, to take on the role of transactional HR. In other words, managers were expected to talk to their employees around grievance issues, discipline issues, performance management issues, and so on and so forth. But no one's actually told managers this is what they need to do. So managers are confused. What am I expected? Is that the role of HR? Is that my role? And as a result of that confusion, we experience a vacuum. And my experience of vacuums in organisations is they get filled with gossip, perception, prejudice, angst, discord and disagreement. So our managers, as a result of the confusion, go on to lack confidence, the courage and the competence to deal with difficult situations, or to deal with almost any people situations. They do it on what they picked up in the press. They do it on their best judgment, on their best instincts. But they're often afraid to do what they think would work because they're also fearful that if they say or do the wrong thing, they'll have a grievance brought against them or have an allegation of bullying and harassment. So even common sense in our managers is held back because the organisation's policies and procedures impede managers for taking a common sense approach. It's a paradox that exists in organisations that no one seems to talk about. But when I talk to managers and leaders, either as a mediator or a teacher, they're telling me, David, this is not working. This is not effective. This is not delivering the outcomes we need to drive our business forward. And the HR function, for those of you in an HR role or speak to your HR director or manager, our HR colleagues are bombarded with issues that should be dealt with at a local level within teams. So where HR should be addressing issues around employee engagement and well-being and talent and all of the strategic functions of HR, what they actually end up doing is deal with grievances, complaints, disagreements, falling out, not seeing eye to eye, stuff that our managers and leaders should be doing. So this is holding back HR from delivering real value. And we see this reactive culture prevailing within our organisations. We wouldn't accept it in almost any other aspect of our business, reacting to circumstance, not being in control. But when it comes to people issues, we seem to have accepted that we will just react to circumstances rather than being proactive and addressing issues that we know are likely to arise. And the overall result for organisations, dissatisfaction, people leaving, increasing levels of litigation. There's some very interesting press this week in relation to the cost of employment tribunals on Personnel Today website. General feelings of unhappiness, discord, discontent. The impact is great. The impact is significant. The cost can be huge for organisations. And it's important now for organisations to begin measuring that cost and understanding the real business benefit. This is not a tenable position for a modern progressive organisation to pursue. Soft skills are at the heart of good business practice. They aren't a nice to have, they're a need to have, in my view. But it's not just my view, actually. You may be aware, or if not aware, I'm looking forward to sharing with you some really exciting news that's been driven certainly from McDonald's and a number of key players across different sectors of industry here in the UK, called Backing Soft Skills. And it couldn't have been, the timing couldn't have been better for this webinar where I'm talking about soft skills. That I read the report last night that McDonald's have produced in relation to backing soft skills. And some of the statistics in the report are absolutely staggering. And if you're interested in reading the report, and there's a public consultation being undertaken at the moment about the importance of soft skills to the British economy, the website address is there, backingsoftskills.co.uk. A must read for those of you interested in soft skills. But here's a couple of headline statistics. By 2020, over 500,000 UK workers will be significantly held back by a lack of soft skills, an issue that's forecast to affect all sectors. At the same time, soft skills contribute £88 billion to the UK economy, with this contribution predicted to increase to £109 billion over the next 5 years. It's incredible. 97% of UK employers believe soft skills are important to their current business practices, but over half say that communication, teamwork are more important than traditional academic results. However, and this is absolutely key, 3/4 believe there is already a soft skills gap in the UK workforce. But it's perhaps no surprise when we look at the perception that I've set out of soft skills. Chris Jones, again taken from the report that has been produced, unfortunately some people believe that soft skills aren't that important. However, as is the case for Chris, as is my experience, almost every employer I've ever talked to about this has disagreed. In a world where job roles are changing rapidly, soft skills be one of the few constants. So the context here is really interesting. Soft skills are out of fashion. There's a perception that they're touchy-feely, they're not relevant to the modern business. We know that modern business practices have become very process-oriented and paradoxically are actually creating more problems than they're solving. However, they also impede the role of the manager and the leader, yet we're reading now that these skills are absolutely vital to a modern workforce, to a modern economy. So I've mapped out for today's webinar what I think is the important aspects, or are the important aspects of the modern manager, perhaps soft skills in action. Well, the modern manager is an effective communicator. They listen actively. They ask questions. They're inquiring. They're interested. They're curious about their people, not just their people in the workplace setting, but they're interested in their people as a human being, as a person, as a whole person. They act with integrity. They know the values of your organisation. They may not be able to repeat them parrot fashion, but they walk the talk. I'm an engagement guru on the Engage for Success Task Force. Some of you may be familiar of the work of David McLeod and Nita Clark. And they talk about managers walking the talk. Well, it's absolutely right. If the organisation espouses the values of respect, empathy, excellence, then it's important that our managers espouse those values too, not just in what they say, but how they behave. Which I'll come to behavioural competencies shortly. But our managers are compassionate, they're sensitive, they understand the needs of their people. Fairness is about understanding the needs of our team and acting compassionately based on each individual's teams. I think managers often get confused about fairness and compassion as it's seen as almost it's formulaic. It's not. It's about understanding our people, being curious, as I said, about people. The modern manager understands how to reward and encourage. We've become very focused often in businesses about focusing on what isn't working. We've got our key performance indicators, our targets, our metrics, and when they're not achieved, we perhaps address those. The modern manager uses appreciative inquiry. They build on the positives. They reward success. They know that there are many different motivators for people in the workplace. They know how to say thank you in an authentic and genuine way. They know how to get the best out of people because they know what motivates their team. Our modern manager is emotionally intelligent. They're aware of how they're reacting to situations. They're aware of their own hooks and triggers. They know what upsets them and makes them cross and upset. But in doing so, they're also able to empathise with their people. They know they're able to put themselves in the shoes of their team. They demonstrate the ability to be empathetic, to be able to recognise and understand the feelings, the emotions. That big F word of management, the feelings. Many managers are very scared of feelings, very scared of emotion. So mediator, one of the key questions I ask is, how does that make you feel? What kind of impact has it had? And when managers tell me they ask that to their team, ask the question about feelings, they open up. People will be very, very open with them about how they're feeling. If we don't ask the question, we get suppression. If we don't ask people how they feel, we don't be empathetic, they suppress, and that leads to gossiping, rumour spreading, and all of the pernicious aspects of teams. They know how to problem solve in a collective and a collaborative way within teams. They know how to build high-performing teams. They know that teams are going to go through different stages. They'll form, they'll storm, they'll begin to norm, and then they'll start to perform. And the modern manager knows how to take that team through those stages and build strong team relationships and create clear vision, goals, objectives with the team in a collaborative, supportive way that meets the needs of the business but meets the needs of the individual. They mediate in that respect. And of course, finally, the modern manager is able to coach and mentor, either on a one-to-one or a group basis, helping people to achieve their best, getting the best out of people, building on people's strengths, understanding their motivations and goals. The modern manager needs to be able to do all of these things, but in doing so, can actually drive real benefit to their team and to themselves in terms of how the team functions and how the team works. So when I'm developing soft skills training for my clients, these different areas are the ones that we focus on when we go in and start having our conversations, often with the learning and development lead and HR, about what kind of skills does your organisation need. What I'll also do is I'll map these skills against the existing core competence for the leader, the leadership competencies or behavioural competencies. And it surprises me how few organisations have leadership competencies against which they recruit and monitor the effectiveness of their managers. If we haven't got those leadership competencies, how can we hire the right managers into the right role? And people often say to me, my managers are technically very able, but actually when it comes to managing people, well, they're not so good at it. I say, great, well, let's have a look at where the problem arises. Where are your leadership competencies so that your leaders know what you expect of them? And when people tell me they haven't got those in place, or there isn't a clear structure or framework against which they're able to assess or recruit their managers, it doesn't come as a surprise to me that maybe their managers aren't clear about what's expected of them. So this structure I've just presented here could also be the basis for a leadership competency framework for your organisation. So, if you like, those are the kind of the areas, the core outcomes. Here are some of what happens under the bonnet, if you like. There are 4 pillars to what I've set out here, and here are the 4 that really are major drivers to me as a teacher, a mediator, and also when I'm working with organisations. The first one is around transformational leadership. The leader as a visionary, someone who can inspire others, a role model, someone who can really drive change within the organisation and promote collaboration by acting as a strong visionary leader who engages with people but also has a vision and understanding of where they're going, the direction that we're going in. Absolutely key to modern leadership and management. Emotional intelligence, I've already talked about the importance of being empathetic and self-aware and the ability to connect with people and build rapport and understand their needs and motivations. The third of the four pillars is constructive conflict management. Conflict is ubiquitous. It's going to happen in all of our teams. And managers can define their management and leadership practices on how they deal with the tough times in their teams. Do they avoid it, hope it'll go away, shout or scream or stamp their feet, or do they sit down and listen and talk and engage and try and find an outcome which is based on a win-win principle, something that we can all walk away from this with a sense of our needs and goals have been achieved. Principled negotiation we might use as a key element to that. Of course, positive psychology, the work of Martin Seligman, we're touching here on appreciative inquiry, building on the positives and actually trying to frame a constructive environment where people can engage effectively. So I'm going to pick up on positive psychology in particular. I'm a huge fan of positive psychology as part of soft skills training, and there are 4 or 5 rather elements that I think are really important here to mention. Again, this is drawing on the work of Martin Seligman, the sort of founder of the School of Positive Psychology. First one is thinking about positive psychology. It's thinking positively, it's acting positively, it's allowing the positive emotions to come through. And here's the word, perhaps talking about happiness, well-being, positivity, looking at the glass as being half full than half empty. It's engaging with other people, allowing people to engage with you. That doesn't mean we're all going to have a consensus or we're going to agree or we're going to skip through the meadow singing Kumbaya. That's not what engagement means. Engagement means having difficult conversations but disagreeing in a way which is respectful and supportive. It's about securing and maintaining effective relationships. The psychological contract becomes very important here. Being clear about the promises we're making, the commitments we're making, building our relationships and recognising how we deal with the difficult or turbulent times in those relationships. It's about finding meaning. Again, if we draw on the narrative of employee engagement, or we think about the strategic narrative, what meaning does the leader bring to their team? Are they clear about the direction that we're going in? Do they allow people to feed into that meaning and have a sense of stake in the overall meaning and the direction of the business? And finally is recognising and rewarding the accomplishments within the team or within the relationship. And as I've mentioned, there are many different ways that managers and leaders can reward above and beyond financial compensation. Keeping calm, staying positive, a key motto for the modern manager. So here are some benefits that I think organisations are now experiencing as a result of investing in soft skills. They clearly define leadership competencies and behaviours which are directly aligned to your values, closing that say-do gap between what managers are doing and what your organisation is saying. Absolutely key. Confident, courageous and competent managers. We need effective leaders and managers in our organisations. If they're confused, worried, sad, anxious, they're not able to deliver the level of management that our organisations need. HR can be released from the day-to-day elements of the fallout of discord and disagreement and actually can begin to function effectively. And what I mean by that is about adding strategic value to the business in the way that HR, certainly through the Ulrich model, are looking to try and do. Happier, engaged employees. Okay, it's difficult to measure, but it's not impossible. Satisfaction surveys, employee engagement surveys, happiness and well-being surveys, they tell their own story about how our employees feel right now about working for our organisations. We begin to see high levels of productivity, high-performing teams. And this is a really interesting aspect for me as a mediator, because when I mediate in teams, and I've mediated at board level or in very high-level strategic teams, what I find is the conflict, as when I work with the team, can be holding the team back. But after they begin to talk and listen and engage and agree a way forward, actually the difficult times have unlocked innovation and creativity. So leaders can unlock innovation, creativity and high performance even when the going gets tough. In fact, some might argue we need the tough times in order to be able to unlock that opportunity. But if we run away from it, if we put our head in the sand, if we pretend it's not happening, or we run to HR and say, look, can you restructure this because I don't know how to cope, that does not give us the potential opportunities to build productivity and high performance. Reduce time and cost within organisations. We can think about a much leaner and much more effective way of working because managers aren't involved all the time, HR aren't involved. And the cost of addressing these issues through internal processes or even externally is just eye-watering. And of course there are many, many others, and I'm sure if you do respond to the consultation to the report that's been published, you'll be able to identify some of those that you think might benefit your business. And I'll be very interested to hear the additional benefits that soft skills will bring to your business. So obviously I'm here to tell you a little bit about my business as well and what we do. I'm very proud of TCM. We do some amazing work. I've got a great team of mediators, trainers, teachers based in central London with associates and reaching across the UK and overseas. So we have two programs to help deliver soft skills within organisations. The first program is our Diploma in People, Performance and Engagement, and that comprises 13 modules covering a wide range of different issues. Managing conflict and change, emotional intelligence, negotiation skills, particularly drawing on principled negotiation, the interest-based negotiation model from Roger Fisher and William Urey. If you've read the book Getting to Yes, you'll understand that's a very important part of our negotiation model. Leading and building high-performing teams, coaching and mentoring skills, facilitation skills, low-level core mediation skills. Critical communication skills I've mentioned, active listening, reframing, building rapport, questioning techniques, body language, non-verbal communication, de-escalating difficult and emotional situations, and performance management, not just performance management when the performance is poor, but actually building high-performing teams and building in the kind of system and the tools that you need within the team to develop and sustain high performance within the team. We also run our Better Resolutions program, which is a kind of a sort of composite, if you will, of the diploma. So the diploma tends to run over 12 months, and each of the different modules lasts for a day. We'd work with you to identify which modules are important to your business. We'd do a detailed training needs analysis, and then the diploma runs over the course of a year, generally one module every 3 or 4 weeks with opportunity to practice, experiment and reflect between modules. Better Resolutions, on the other hand, is a 3-day program. We draw upon the 13 modules, but we sit down with you and pick the most relevant modules to you. The 3 days can be delivered then as a block of 3 days or perhaps 1 day a week over a course of 3 or 4 weeks. It's a much more focused, intensive program, and we'll work with you to ensure it's meeting your business needs, it's aligned to your values, and we'll also work with you over a period of 12 months, as we do with the diploma, to measure and evaluate the effectiveness of the program. And we use the Kirkpatrick 4-level evaluation system to do that. And we're particularly interested, obviously, in levels 3 and 4, where we start to see the benefit to your business. We also provide follow-up coaching and support to all of the delegates on our programs, and our reputation very much is based on the level of support that we provide to people. And I trained people many years ago who still ring me asking for guidance or support when they need that. So those are the 2 products that we have available to organisations who are interested in investing in soft skills, and we're very happy to sit down and talk with you about your needs and goals, your hopes, your expectations. And the programmes can be delivered in a whole array of different ways in terms of a blended learning environment. So we can teach in an auditorium style. I've stood up in many large theatre style environments and delivered some very high impact, powerful messages. If I'm honest, I think this works in a smaller workshop environment to get really intimate, but you can deliver some good messages in a big auditorium style. Simulated workshops using professional actors is very, very popular at the moment, particularly for some of the sort of softer skills around listening, de-escalation, difficult situations, discrimination, those kind of areas which can be very challenging for people. Working with actors through role-playing simulated activities can be very powerful. We also deliver one-to-one coaching, and we can deliver e-learning if that's your preferred route, although again the preference tends to be to try and deliver this face-to-face because it's about human people interacting together. But again, we are able to develop different approaches. We can also run this as a train the trainer if you're a larger organisation wanting to roll it out, but we tend to want to work with you for a period of about a year before we design that to really get to know each other. So we work with a whole range of different organisations. This was an organisation we worked with recently. Hugo Boss, the head of HR, asked us to come in and do some work with her in relation to addressing soft skills issues, and she was very happy with the support that we provided. And what we're always very interested in is how we help to secure and build confidence in dealing with these difficult issues within the workplace. So how can we help going forward? Well, if you are interested in this, obviously there's a lot more reading. I've given you some resources there to have a look at online. We'll send across the webinar to you, and so please do have a little look through that. Very happy to come on site and do a free soft skills consultation and training needs analysis with you. There's no obligation, just to sit down and look at what your needs, hopes and expectations might be. We have several different variations of leadership competency frameworks. Very happy to share those with you. If you'd like a copy of a leadership competency framework, a template, please do let me know. I'm happy to share that, and then we can sit down and work out how that can be tailored to meet your particular needs. Obviously, we run the programs which I talked about, the tailored leadership and management programs. Training delivered by world-class experts, and as I've mentioned, the exemplary aftercare and follow-up. But it always starts with a conversation on site about what your needs are, and that's always done without obligation to you, and a chance to get to know each other better. So in conclusion, really, it's a soft skills for the 21st century. As I've said, these are absolutely key to the modern organisation. It's about resolving conflicts, about communicating effectively, it's about negotiating outcome, managing change, being empathetic, and really helping to skill better resolutions. That doesn't just mean focusing on the problems and the challenges. It's about having a forward-focused, problem-solving approach to leadership and management, where people feel engaged, people feel supported, people feel their differences are valued, that they're able to come together and share their needs and goals, all driven through the line manager and the leader within the team. We're asking a lot of our line managers and leaders, but I think that's right to ask a lot of them, but we need to also give them the skills to have the courage, the confidence and the competence. Without that, there will always be a gap, and that gap will always be filled with attempts to resolve the issues through a process. And again, just to repeat from the very beginning, my experience of addressing people issues through policies and procedures tends to be we ignore the emotions. It tends to be a one-size-fits-all approach, and as a result of it, we experience dissatisfaction, disengagement, and generally a level of discontent and disengagement, which is damaging to our organisations. So I don't think there's ever been a better time for soft skills within organisations. Like I said, I think the fact the report's just been published by McDonald's with the support of James Kahn and the CBI and many, many others, the timing could not be better, and perhaps in 2015 soft skills will become fashionable again. So I'd like to thank you very, very much for attending the webinar today. I'm just going to have a quick look through to see if there's any questions that have come through. I've got lots of messages saying yes, you can hear me, which I appreciate enormously. So thank you very much for that. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am quite active on LinkedIn, publishing on a regular basis, so we can connect through there. There's my email address on the screen, the website for my business, and of course the old-fashioned way, sit down and have a cup of coffee. If you'd like to do that, the telephone number for TCM is there, and it would be great to meet up with you. So, like I said, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to the prospect of working with you. I hope this has been useful, and thank you very, very much indeed. Take care. Bye-bye.